Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to Be the Man. And of course, we couldn't do it without the Hall of Famer himself, and you already hear him, the Nature Boy. Rick, what's going on, man? How are you?
Good morning, sir. Fine. How are you guys?
Man, I'm pumped to be here with you. Of course, we are home stretching it for a big event this weekend. We're getting the whole band together for moneyformongo.com. We encourage everyone to go make a donation right now at moneyformongo.com. But we're doing a podcast super show. Look at that lineup. Throw it up there again, Steve. You got Jeff Jarrett, you got Ric Flair, you got Eric Bischoff, you got Jim Ross, you got Tony Schiavone, and Mick Foley all together on the same stage at the same time. It's happening this Saturday on Fight at 12:30 Central, 1:30 Eastern. It's totally free. We encourage you to make a donation at moneyformongo.com. We're getting together for a great cause for a great man. Are we not, Rick?
Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, as we speak, Mongo might be in the hospital. I'm waiting to hear. So this would be his third trip in the last 5 weeks, which is really makes this thing even bigger because he's fought the fight of a lifetime. I don't know how much more he has in him, but we're sure thinking of him. And I think I actually was hoping to get him to be able to come down to the event. He's about a 40-minute ride, and they get him up in, and they have a van they drive him around in. So not going to certainly advertise that, but it's my dream. I mean, I'm going to do my best to try and make that happen. Of course, Conrad will talk about that during the week. But I think it'd be great for everybody to see him. I mean, I know he'll smile. He can't say anything, of course, but I think to see so many people in this room that respect him will mean a lot to everybody.
Well, it certainly
means a lot to him.
Absolutely. And, listen, there's been, I don't think enough people know enough about ALS and what a terrible disease it is and how it's totally ravaged, a big time professional athlete, and not just in professional wrestling, but for the Chicago Bears. And I thought, you know what, man, we're going to be in Chicago. Let's do something nice. And
it's a great idea.
I've been fortunate enough to speak to Misty a little bit and just understand what their circumstance is with, what insurance covers, what does not, what the NFL is helping with, what they're not. And the result is a 5-figure deficit every single month. So every little bit helps. Please consider going to moneyformongo.com. Whether you were a Mongo fan or not, you are a professional wrestling fan by listening to this. And if you're like Rick and I, you're a big football fan too.
I got this from Mongo's best friend yesterday.
Okay.
I will keep you updated. He hasn't eaten in 2 days. By the way, it's Misty's birthday on Wednesday, so we'll wish this drops tomorrow. I'll be wishing Misty a happy birthday. God only knows she deserves everything in the world. Also, this is so cool of Conrad because money goes straight to the family, no one else, as it had before. And that, without mentioning anybody's name, it got distributed through somebody else. So, and then of course something really nice going to me, but that's not the point. Conrad, your idea, you're the home run right now. So,
well, I want to give a shout out.
That's Mongo's best friend, John. Fight
is covering all of the production costs on their end, and obviously we're all paying our own travel into Chicago. And 100%, I'm explaining all that to say 100% of the money goes directly to Mongo. It never touches our account. We never see it. We want all of it to go directly to Mongo. It's moneyformongo.com. I hope you guys will check us out. I don't think this has ever happened before. That collection of talent in the ring, because there is a wrestling show happening later that day on Fight, a wrestling showcase. They're going to tape the ropes down for us, Rick, and we're all going to be in the ring together. And I hope that you can contain yourself being in there with Eric Bischoff and Jeff Jarrett. I mean, he stabbed you in the head not too long ago. So,
listen, I'll be wearing a blade.
Oh my God.
I'll be taped up.
Just in case, right? Just in case.
Hell yeah. In case Foley wants to give me a slam or something.
Yeah, just in case. Here's what I hope though. I hope that we can have cooler heads.
Is it an independent show that day?
It is. Yes, sir. It's called Wrestling Showcase. They're going to do a tournament.
With Tony?
No. Tony Khan is going to be taking over Chicago though, as folks are listening. Dynamite tonight, Rampage on Friday, and their big pay-per-view on Sunday. But Saturday, I think he's got the AEW Fan Fest happening. I think right across the street.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, good deal.
Well, here's the thing. I know for sure we're all going to be in Chicago. We're all going to be hanging out and we're going to be looking for some fellowship opportunities. I want to be looking for some Woo Wings. I can't believe this is real, but you've got your very own virtual restaurant concept. It's now open. You can enjoy the legendary flavors and world championship wings yourself by ordering through Uber Eats or Postmates. Woo Wings is now open in Nashville, San Antonio, Jacksonville, Huntsville, Tuscaloosa, and more locations coming every single week. As a virtual restaurant, Woo Wings is looking to partner with existing restaurants in major metro areas. Tell your favorite sports bar or local restaurant you want Woo Wings in your town and to visit RicFlairWings.com for more information on how to become a partner. But if you're in Nashville or San Antonio or Jacksonville or Huntsville or Tuscaloosa, just hop on Uber Eats or Postmates and look for the Woo Wings. I'm telling you, these are the only chicken wings.
They'll be in 10 restaurants in Florida by the end of the month.
Can't wait, man. Listen,
and by the way, I just want to explain something to you that puts I know this will be very taxing and a lot of pressure on you from my daughter, but on the 3rd will be the 3rd day of the first month of 50 Years of Flair.
How about that?
On the 25th of September will be 50 years since I first walked into Vern Gagne's camp. December 10th was my first match. But getting to there and having it was a lot easier than getting to it for 3 months with Vern Gagne. Good Lord. So 50 Years of Flair. When I arrive at the Hyatt Regency, won't say which one. Won't plug the destination or location, but it'll be the Hyatt. Nature Boy. Conrad Thompson. Looking at only we can look. Styling and profiling. Woo!
Man, we've got some big plans coming up. Stay tuned. 50 Years of Flair. You'll probably be hearing that a lot more as we get closer to the end of the year. But today we're going to talk about something that happened 30 years ago. I think everybody remembers your most famous WWF title win. You won the Royal Rumble in 1992. We covered that earlier this year in the archives, but you won it again in 1992, September 1st, 1992. So we're right upon that anniversary as well. And of course, everybody recalls your co-main event, if you will, at WrestleMania 8 with you and the Macho Man. But the next pay-per-view that was after that was over in London for SummerSlam. And what a big match that was. We just passed that 30th anniversary of SummerSlam 92 over at the Wembley Arena or Wembley Stadium. You didn't have a match there, but you were still there and strutting and wearing the robe and looking as only you can look.
And a $3,000 bar tab.
Why didn't you have a match there? Do you know?
I read the notes yesterday, and that whole thing in Hershey. Getting back to answer, I can't remember why I didn't have a match. I just don't think there was a match available for me at that point, and I don't know the inner workings may have been that they just weren't getting along with the Warrior. I don't know for sure what happened.
On that show, just context.
I just know that I want to say this at the start of this. I don't think Randy and played out during this conversation ever until the day he died got over Liz.
Yeah.
And he had remarried, obviously, and I understand he was very happy prior to the car wreck and the heart attack and all that, but I don't think while I knew Randy and while we were in the business, he ever got over Liz. And that's a very fair take on my part because I worked with him during, before, and after.
Did you have conversations with him about Liz? Or did he play it all close to
you? I did. I did it, of course, when we were working together in the 90s, but not later on. I mean, Randy, the Randy Savage that I worked with in the 90s and the Randy that came to WCW were two different people.
Right.
He was 40 pounds heavier. He just wasn't the same guy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I know that, he looked great. I'm not taking anything away from his look. It was, guys had gotten bigger, but he was probably 35 pounds, at least heavier than he was in the 90s. Like when he wrestled, or that might have been the 80s when he wrestled Steamboat, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever, when they had that classic at WrestleMania. He just wasn't the same guy. And I don't think, I just think that he loved her so much. And I really felt bad for him on a personal note when she came back at WCW. She married a lawyer for a while in Fort Lauderdale, and then, like so many of us that have been on the road, just got tired of that life. And then she showed up with Lex, and then I can't imagine how hard that was for Randy to go to work every day.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Love of your life. You got to look at her every day with somebody else.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah, it had to be. So,
Well, it feels awkward to even try to talk about wrestling, but that's what we're here for today. And at SummerSlam 92, Randy Savage found himself standing across the ring from the Ultimate Warrior. And that was sort of the marquee main event, of course, locally. And the match people still talk about to this day is
Bret
Bret Hart
and
and British
Bulldog.
Bulldog in the last match that went out that night. But you become a big part of this Randy Savage Ultimate Warrior storyline. You're trying to sow some distrust between the two of them. And of course, Randy Savage has the world title, and your cohort in all of this is Mr. Perfect. Um, did you think the ultimate goal would be you working with the Ultimate Warrior on a regular basis? I mean, he had been, to the top of the mountain in the WWF marketing machine. Um, but it wasn't going to be a Ric Flair style match, especially compared to what you could probably do with Randy Savage. Is that fair to say?
Yes, yeah, that's more than fair to say. But I only got to work with the Warrior twice, and once it was just terrible in Winnipeg and Phoenix. I think Phoenix was better, but I got he obviously it was an accident, and it happens all the time. My head a little bit, or I landed wrong. Let's put it like that. He didn't drop me intentionally by any means, but I landed, and that's when I got the inner ear problem that I had for about 8 months, and that's why I flew over to drop the title to Bret the next day, in what was a half-ass match compared to what could have been had my equilibrium been better.
We can't debate RecTeq, an amazing company that offers wood pellet grills fueled by all natural hardwood pellets. I got to tell you guys, I've had a gas grill, I've had the messy charcoal grill, but the RecTeq is beyond compare. They've got grills ranging for just $399. They've got grills for every lifestyle and every budget, with a key focus on flavor, convenience, and versatility. Their factory direct pricing eliminates the middleman, and all grills ship for free. Plus, RecTeq pellet grills are made with high quality stainless steel and built to last a lifetime. RecTeq's flagship model, the RT700, comes with a 40-pound pellet hopper, 702 square inches of cooking space, and the PID Wi Fi controller, plus a 6-year bumper to bumper warranty. You can bake, smoke, sear, grill, even dehydrate on the grill, all with a push of a button. And that's why those in the know choose RecTeq. So toss aside that tasteless gas grill. Get rid of that old messy charcoal grill and join an elite wood pellet grilling family by focusing on flavor, convenience, and versatility. RecTeq really has set the new standard in grilling. So visit recteq.com. That's RecTeq.com and use the promo code NatureBoy5 to save 5% off site wide. That's 5% off their top notch wood pellet grills, their one of a kind icer coolers, the rubs, the sauces, the accessories, the merchandise. Everything's 5% off when you go to recteq.com and use the promo code NatureBoy5. Let's talk about some of the tapings that are going to happen after SummerSlam.
Yeah, how about me and can I just bring up, how about me and Bret Hart this weekend, right? I mean, I took a picture, and I was thinking to myself, we used to call each other everything in the world for 30 years, and now we're like best friends. And that's the way it should be. Well, the business could make it. The business makes us all a dick at some time, one time or another. You know what I mean? We just get. It's now with social media, it makes it even worse. You know what I mean? I just you just look back and regret things you said or even thought about because it makes no. At the end of the day, what did you gain by it? What a moment of satisfaction. I mean, it's ridiculous. But I had a great time with Bret this weekend, and Ryan Fitterman and that autograph signing was great. Some phenomenal people. Byron Scott, Iceman was there. I mean, I had a great time. And of course, my first time with the Queen. So great weekend there. I didn't mean to change the subject. I just had to bring up Bret because he and Bulldog. I told Bret when I saw him back at the hotel that night. I said, if I knew you could work that good, brother, I would have been knocking on your door a long time ago. They had a hell of a match.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, I just didn't. I had never seen Bret work a couple of times. I mean, if I did, I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
He was a phenomenal performer.
Did you meet Bret at the Fitterman signing this past weekend in Texas?
Yeah.
Was he there as well? Is that the deal?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
well, I took a picture of it. I put up.
I
Yeah,
saw the
it did.
picture. I just didn't know if it was also at Fitterman's thing.
Yeah, he was there absolutely, and he went home that night. Of course, I stayed, and much to my dismay, went out again
Oh,
as I had the
surprise.
night before. I just got to learn how to go to bed, Conrad. I don't know what's going to happen. Last night I had to stay up and watch Serena.
Hey, since we're talking about most recent topics, there's been some speculation online that perhaps they're thinking about bringing Braun Strowman back into the fold for WWE. Did you spend any time with Braun? What's your feelings on Braun Strowman as a WWE player again?
Well, I like Braun a lot. I haven't spent any time with him. I've seen him once or twice. I think I saw him at WrestleCon, but I haven't spent any time at all with him since he left. We're kind of working on a project together that hasn't really come to fruition yet. It's a promotional scheme that somebody brought to me that it's legitimate, but we just haven't gone to work on it yet. So I don't know. He'll probably have to make a decision whether he wants to do that because it potentially could be very lucrative or go back to the WWE. But I like Braun a lot personally.
Lots of chatter on Twitter this week about the Seth Rollins fight and big promo that he had with Matt Riddle. Riddle no longer just called Riddle. Now he's Matt Riddle. He's got that name back. It feels as if there's an edge of realism here. Did you see the fight? Did you hear the promo? What do you think of what Hunter's doing with maybe this fresh paint of coat here, as Bruce would call it?
Well, I think I'm a big fan of Matt Riddle, and I think Seth Rollins is a really good worker. The fight, I don't know. What do you think of it? You know what I think? I think it's too many punches, too fast. And I think that when they do that, man, you got to make sure everything looks good. Matt Riddle is a former MMA
Yeah.
guy. I mean, a UFC guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I just know that Riddle's legitimately tough. And if you look at it, it's like these guys that do these hockey fights, what they call them, right? But in hockey, they're really they're knocking the shit out of each other, So I don't know. I thought it was okay. Apparently, the fans liked it because it got a pretty good rating, I think. And anything that they can do to promote Matt Riddle's career, I really like him. I like him a lot. He really likes the business and is respectful as hell.
The chatter online is it feels a little more realistic. You saw Seth Rollins have some comments about Matt Riddle's real life, referencing a divorce and some children, and you saw Riddle dropping F-bombs that were blurred out and censored on Monday Night Raw. That is definitely a departure from the more PG presentation we had not too long ago. Do you think wrestling in 2022 needs an edge like that?
Well, how I feel about the personal things. Eric used to say stuff about me, bring up my personal life. You know what I mean, right? And I didn't like it then. And knowing full well that Matt Riddle could beat the shit out of Seth Rollins, I don't like it. Because if they went backstage, you and I both know what would happen.
Yeah.
Hell, Matt Riddle's not afraid of Brock.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't know how I feel about this personal comments. I never liked the stuff that he did with Jeff Hardy. He didn't care about that at all. You know what I mean? What do you accomplish by discussing all that?
Well, I think it's probably the suspension of disbelief. We tried to do a little bit of that with your last match.
You see enough about it on social media. Why reinforce it on a television program?
Fair enough.
That's just my take on it. I'm not saying I'm right.
Yeah.
But, I just think when you start talking about personal things, with the idea that you're, you know, the writers are shooting who's over writing it down. They're not, does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's still, I'm just not crazy about it. I think the reason that guys like me and Bret and people like that are making a lot of money and are fortunate enough to make a lot of money is because wrestling was different back then. We didn't have to take shots like that. We did with each other, but we
Right.
were prepared to fight each other at the same time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It never happened. I mean, what would you? And I know you're a big fan of the guy. Do you think that they could pay Seth enough money to say something about Harley Race's personal life on the same show?
I mean, listen, I do think
I'm asking you a question. Or
yeah,
Blackjack Mulligan, or Dick Slater.
yeah, it was a different time. That's for sure.
It's a different time. Yeah, I mean, and
Yeah.
it's like I get it, but I don't get it. I mean, that's my opinion. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like anything but family or
Right.
things that are actually happening in your life that are hurtful to your kid. Yeah, their kids got to hear that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got little kids hearing that stuff. Why?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean,
Let's talk about something else that's recent that we haven't really talked about a lot lately. You referenced her earlier, the Queen. You had your first photo op, big
yeah,
time
God,
photo
that's
op with
glorious.
you and Charlotte Flair, and we haven't seen her on TV in a while. How's the Queen doing these days?
She looks phenomenal. I think they're just waiting. I don't begin to know what's going on. I don't even want to speculate. I just think that they're waiting for the opportune time for her to come back.
It's going to be fun, man. I can't wait to see.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. I saw Liv was there this weekend. Natty was there, and I talked with Natty a little bit, and Natty, kind of implied too that she just needs to take her time, and then I'm sure that they'll plug her in the right, and there's all kinds of new stuff for her to do, which I like. You know what I mean? I know she wrestled Liv a long time ago, but that's a new opportunity.
Yeah.
The new girls that have come along, I mean, they're all good, and some of them will be great someday. But you got to start somewhere, and out of sight, out of mind is not always the case.
No, it is not.
Sometimes absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Let's talk about the other channel since we're talking about current stuff. This past week we saw the unification bout with CM Punk, who was crowned the world champ in May over on the AEW side of things, and the interim champ Jon Moxley went head to head, title for title. And I don't think a lot of folks would have called it. It was a short affair, and Moxley walked out with both belts.
Yeah.
What do you think of the presentation, and what do you expect this weekend?
I was totally shocked. I didn't know it, and I don't know. I'm asking you now: is Punk hurt?
Well, I think it's a storyline injury. I don't know for sure, but as
Okay.
far as I know, I think that's going to be the main event this Sunday. But
Oh, it
as
is. Okay, I wasn't sure. I'm not plugged in that much, and I haven't asked. But they got a rating. That's what matters. And they got.
yeah,
I think they went over 1 million viewers, and that's got to make Tony happy, and got to make the guys that were involved in the show happy, because all about the rating, guys. Everybody knows what everybody makes and all that, but boy, if you're in it and the rating's no good, then it's once again you're bombarded by social media. So I don't. They got a rating. It was pretty pretty aggressive, and I'm a big fan of Jon Moxley. I don't know Punk that well, but I thought they did great. But and it caught me up totally off guard.
one more thing we'll talk about in current stuff, then we'll get back to Randy Savage. There was a bit of a debate over the weekend. I don't know that you saw it, but there was a tweet that came out that got everybody talking, and it was from an account that really nobody had, or it wasn't on my radar before. But boy, everybody was paying attention after, talking about Wrestling Banana, and they made a comment or an observation about how things had been evolving in wrestling in the last few months for Will Osprey. Here's the tweet from @WrestleBanana. Will Osprey has had more 5-star matches in 1 month than CM Punk, John Cena, and Kurt Angle have had combined in their entire career. The idea being that over the last month, Will Ospreay's had 4 5-star matches. Meanwhile, Punk, Cena, and Angle collectively have 3. And it didn't take too long before Kevin Nash, a WWE Hall of Famer, found this tweet and responded, "How's his merchandise sales?" And that sort of brought it all back to business. And you were a guy who had just as many 5-star matches as maybe anybody in history, and have an award for the wrestler of the year named after you in the Wrestling Observer. So you received a ton of critical praise, but Kevin Nash brought it back to be not about the critics, but about the fans and about the money, and asked, "How's his merchandise sales?" And it created a little bit of a debate this week on My World with myself and Jeff Jarrett. What would you rather be, underrated or overpaid? Do you want to be a critical success, or do you want to be a financial success? And you probably had to balance that a few times in your career, because you knew you could have better matches with in the Crockett organization than maybe the WWF, but perhaps the WWF would have made you a bigger star. Where do you land on this debate?
Well, I guess at the end of the day, if Kevin's implying that, in other words, he's had great matches, but he's not selling merchandise, is that what Kevin's implying?
I think the implication is, are you over with the critics or are you over with the fans? The idea being
The fans being the merchandise.
The fans being the merchandise, because
Gotcha.
I think it's probably, I mean, I don't think I'm speaking out of school here. Roman Reigns is probably the biggest star in wrestling today, and he probably makes the most money and probably sells the most merch and all that sort of thing. However, Will Ospreay, a lot of people would argue, is the best wrestler in the world today, and he has the best quality matches and certainly the most critical success. But as I pointed out to Jeff, I don't know that Will Ospreay would swap places with Roman Reigns and vice versa. I don't know that Roman Reigns values being a critical success as much as, over with the fans.
Oh, I can assure you, Will Ospreay would trade places with Roman Reigns.
Okay.
With that contract and that income, and now I think he has the flexibility of working part-time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming, like you are, that he sells the most merchandise. I'm pretty sure Will would take that, would flip that coin. Yeah, I mean, here's the deal. There's a lot of guys that are really, really good performers, and
Yes.
and you're right. They don't sell merchandise because they haven't been around long enough to do it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a month ago, I didn't know who Will Ospreay was, and that's no offense to him. I just didn't know who it was.
Right.
And now, because of all this he's getting, now I make it a point to watch him. But
How about
prior to
that
that,
exchange with Phoenix last week? Him and
huh?
Phoenix on Dynamite. That segment they had last week on Dynamite was outstanding, was it not?
Yeah. But I mean, prior to that, I'm saying I didn't, like 2 months ago, I didn't know who he was.
Right.
So I certainly wouldn't have bought a T-shirt. And for me, and I think Kevin's implying this too, it takes a very strong gimmick. It's in the imagination and the creation and the creativity that goes behind the T-shirt or the marketing scheme. And very few people are ever going to have the genius of the WWE, meaning the company and whoever does that, to replicate that kind of merchandise. Does that make sense?
It does.
No. I heard that CM Punk was selling a ton of merchandise when he came back.
Yeah.
I'm sure, but does he still?
Well,
Or was it just when he came back?
I'm not sure, but I know that he set an all-time record when he returned, and he's been a merchandise monster. But again, I think the implication there in the original tweet was, while CM Punk may be a huge critical success, much like Kurt Angle was, and even John Cena was, they had a larger fan base. They were quote unquote more over with the mainstream, et cetera, et cetera. Meanwhile, Will Ospreay has been, making his living on the other side of the world. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but
How old is Will?
that's a great question. Let me look that up. I don't think he's quite 30 yet. Let me see.
Well, he's got plenty of time then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if he continues, I
He's
haven't heard
29
him
years
talk. I haven't heard him make an interview yet, so You know, there's a lot of factors that go into selling merchandise, but the biggest factor is having some kind of a gimmick or it's not just about having great matches. I mean, speaking for myself, I never sold a lot of merchandise. I never really had a chance to with WCW, obviously. But I mean, I get a decent royalty check. But I mean, some guys can, like, I'm sure Punk could retire on his royalty checks.
To me, the Will Osprey thing, the reason I brought it up to you is for years and years, you were regarded as the best wrestler in the world. And there was very little debate about that. It was almost accepted as a universal fact. But it was also accepted that Hulk Hogan was probably a bigger star in the 80s.
Absolutely.
And I think Kevin Nash was bringing it back to, hey, who would you rather be? The critic's favorite or the fan favorite?
Yeah.
And
I understand that remark. Well, Kevin's a very smart guy. I mean, everything that Kevin comments on, I mean, I put a lot of thought into it. Kevin is like an intellect.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, when I'm with Kevin, I spend more time talking about LeBron James than I do wrestling.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't even talk about wrestling. We talk about sports, especially with football coming up and the University of Tennessee sucking it as usual.
They're terrible. They're terrible. Let's get back on track and talk about the WWF. Hey, in the meantime, if you want to catch up on some wrestling, let me recommend IWTV.LIVE. That's IWTV.LIVE. It's independent wrestling's premier streaming service for live events and video on demand of past events. If you saw Wheeler Yuta versus Daniel Garcia on AEW, check out IWTV.LIVE as they had an even better match for the IWTV title. And you can check out the likes of Eddie Kingston, Masato Tanaka, Jonathan Gresham, and so many more. For just $10 a month, IWTV.live offers 20 plus events streamed live each month from top independent wrestling. And just this past week, they had 10 live events. That's $1 an event. There's no better value in wrestling streaming today. Also, as an IWTV.live subscriber, you have immediate access to our extensive library of over 13,000 hours of video on demand content coming from over 300 independent wrestling promotions from all around the world, including Beyond Wrestling, Prestige Wrestling, Absolute Intense Wrestling, and H2O. You can watch IWTV.live anytime, anywhere on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV Stick, and of course, all the mobile apps for Apple and Android devices. No long-term contracts needed. Just go to IWTV.live and subscribe today for just $10 a month. That's IWTV.live.
And Alabama playing Saturday, but who are they playing?
Utah State,
Florida A&D, or what?
You know what? Here's the deal. Your granddaughter is going there, so I won't have you get on.
Who are they playing? Florida A&E or D or C or what?
Utah State.
Are they playing a D2 team or what?
They're going to win by 1,000.
Who are they playing?
Utah State.
Oh, Jesus Christ! How kind of a schedule is that down there? They haven't. Is it at Tuscaloosa?
It's going to be tight. Yeah, it's at Tuscaloosa.
How do you like Notre Dame? How do you like Notre Dame and Ohio State?
I hope they both lose. I hope they find a way to both lose. If we get not a tie, but a double loss, that'd be great.
No, you know, I hope Ohio State falls all over the place. I can't stand those.
I hate Ohio State, but I would like for them. Anytime Notre Dame does poorly, I get to fuck with Mark Carano, and that makes me happy. That makes.
Oh, he'll be whining. And then, what do you think about Oregon and Georgia?
Georgia's going to blow the doors off Oregon.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's get back to something we know something about here, because my Michigan team is going to win it all.
Here's what we can debate all day long: football, wrestling, et cetera, et cetera. You know what, man? Let's watch the match. We're at that point in the show. I think it's time for us to watch a little wrestling. We've got your whole match here from Hershey, Pennsylvania. Now, just to remind everybody,
I didn't dive in a vat of chocolate. I dove in a vat of vodka after that match at the Hershey Hotel.
This is quite a story. We're going to get into it. Steve, let's roll that footage, and we can do it without the audio to start.
I hope they lost that in the archives.
They did not lose it in the archives. So here you are in the purple robe, Mr. Perfect in tow. And you're working house shows on the way here in Auburn Hills, Denver, I mean, even after WrestleMania, you're continually working with Randy Savage. Did you guys have good chemistry together?
Yeah, I thought we did, but it was never the same without after Liz. This is all after Liz.
Right.
I just don't think. I think we had average chemistry, but I once again I hate talking about. I'm not knocking Randy. I'm saying something that I think it happens in real life when you lose a partner that is so important to you and been so much to you personally. I don't think you recover from that. And by this time, Randy had amassed a fortune. I don't even know if he even cared. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Randy was very financially successful.
I think somewhere over this summer is where you were negotiating with Bill Watts about returning the big gold belt. What do you remember about your conversations with Bill about that championship?
Well, I explained to him the format, which he understood, and that they hadn't paid me interest or even paid me back a $25,000 deposit. That's why I didn't give it to him.
Right.
It could have been resolved easy. I would have never left with it. But I knew once they had it that Herb would never pay me. Yeah. I mean, once again, did Herb show up for our potential debate? No.
Of course not.
He didn't want anything to do with me when talking about what he's doing in my career.
See Savage here limping in. What do you think of the presentation of the old WWF ring, the red, white, and blue?
I liked it. I mean, it's America.
Did you have a preference between ropes and cables?
I like ropes.
Okay. Why do you like ropes better?
I just feel like they have more give.
Yeah.
Actually, I just liked the WCW rings better because they were smaller. These rings are 4 feet longer each way.
So you like a WCW ring, but the WWF ropes?
No, I'm saying I preferred the WCW ring, the NWA size ring.
I got you. Around this same time, we would see Pat Patterson return to the WWF. Were you happy to see Pat back on the roster?
Yeah, I've always liked Pat.
Not too long after SummerSlam, Bruce Prichard came back as well. And I think that would have really been the first time you would have probably worked with him outside of maybe an appearance for the Bosch territory here or there, right?
Yeah, first time. Yeah, but Bruce and I have been friends for a long time. I mean, it's hard to believe how long Bruce and I have been friends.
Yeah.
I mean, we go back to the 80s. How old is Bruce now?
57, I think.
How old?
I think he's 57. Let me double check.
58, just a kid. Yeah.
Oh, he's 59.
Okay.
Boy, time flies.
So he probably was 18 years old when he started with Paul Bosch.
Let's as we're watching a pretty good match here, we're doing a lot of psychology, of course, because Randy Savage is going to come out limping here, and it's a big part of the match. You're leg diving him, going after that leg, and even when he's just standing in the corner, he's selling it. And of course, we know what the finish is going to be. There's going to be a figure four involved, and that really works for telling a story. What we're watching here is maybe one of the most infamous matches of your career, because I think it's the only time anyone ever told you to go do it over, right?
Absolutely.
Meltzer would write this: after several squash matches had taken place, Flair and Savage were sent to the ring again and did a 25-minute match with Savage selling the injured knee a lot more and Mr. Perfect freely interfering. Razor Ramon came to ringside and gave Savage a hard kick to the knee before walking back to the dressing room. Flair put the figure four on and Savage held on for 2 minutes before the 3 count. After the match, Ramon attacked Savage's knee and the Ultimate Warrior had to help Savage to the back. So clearly we're trying to set up the whole Survivor Series thing, but the redo of the match, less than ideal. Is that the most frustrated you've been as far as a wrestling match?
Well, the number one, the crowd didn't give a damn. I mean, were getting no crowd response, and that happens sometimes when you go on a TV taping and you're later in a show.
Mm-hmm.
But it just, I just think there's probably a little bit too much outside interference there. Does that make sense? Where you're
Yes.
We've learned now that you go reach for a guy maybe one time during a match, and if you keep doing it over and over again, the referee doesn't catch it, then the people just go, "What the heck?" I mean, it's too much. Does that make sense?
It does. I think the original report about the first version of the match, which we're not looking at here.
See,
No,
like this be like the fourth time or fifth time that Kurt's there. As you learn as a manager that if you're involved so much, it takes away from the match.
yes.
And Kurt wasn't trained to be a manager by any means. He's a great worker, but with Heenan has stayed in one place.
Right.
Cornette stayed in one place, and if he was involved in something, he moved out of place once or twice. You can't, it's like two guys wrestling one, and like the referee is, just in a bad position. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. Meltzer would say of the first match, actually, the match where the title was supposed to change hands turned into an abortive contest in 12 minutes. And because Vince McMahon was unhappy with what was going on, he sent Bobby Heenan out, who signaled to referee Earl Hebner, and everyone went to the back dressing room. And the ring announcer, Howard Finkel, announced, quote, "The match will resume as soon as the referee regains control." So I'm curious, when you come to the back,
He didn't like
and
all the interference.
I got you.
You see what I'm saying? It's two against one.
Yeah.
He was furious about it. But Kurt was just doing what he thought was it's nothing Kurt did wrong. It's just one of those situations. I mean, at the end of the night, I just don't think that people cared, and I don't think Randy wanted to lose the belt.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Do you think they didn't care because you weren't a WWF traditionalist? They didn't have a reason to hate you. You weren't this big hulking monster that they were used to seeing in the heel
No,
position.
no, I just don't think he who wants to lose the title belt. You lose. I mean,
No, I mean in terms of the fans. Why don't you think it was connecting with the fans?
I don't know. I mean, if I'm a fan and I'm watching this, there's so much outside interference. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you look at the mechanics of the match, it's not that bad. But nobody was budging. Kurt's
You
the
know,
only one cheering.
so is this obviously this is the more disappointing of the two. You had two WWF title runs. Nothing can compare with the Royal Rumble 92, but is there another world title win that you remember disappointing you as much as this one? Because this should have been a big damn day.
Um, well, it was still a big day, but it just if you're a guy like me, you want the match to be perfect, and they're
Right.
not all going to be perfect. No pun intended with Kurt there. You always want it to be, at least technically as good as possible. And we're miscuing punches and kicks, and when I'm hitting a guy, they know I'm hitting them, and I don't think I'm not. But it's like it takes two to tango.
Right. It's about a month after this. This airs on September 14th, but it happened on September 1st, 1992. And
Mhm.
October 12th is when you would drop the belt to Bret Hart. So you didn't have it
Yes,
very long. And I'm wondering, do you think the bloom was off the rose for you with the WWF after this night? Or maybe was it off the rose for Vince with Ric Flair? Because he
I don't
came to
know
you
the
a
answer
month
to that.
later and said, "Hey, I'm going a different direction," right?
Yeah. Well, I think it was at a point. Remember, Hogan was gone now. I mean, they had a hell of a run, but Hulk's not there anymore.
Right.
Piper's not there anymore. You know what I mean? You start losing some players, and it's like you hear about it in the NFL and you hear about it in Major League Baseball. The things they call the rebuilding time, like the Lakers are rebuilding around LeBron. You know what I mean? And he had to figure out a way to start rebuilding it because we all had. I mean, I had more mileage on me than anybody, but Randy had been there a long time and had a hell of a run.
What do you remember Randy's reaction being to Vince McMahon telling him to go do it over again?
I don't think he was very happy with it.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't cause any problem between me and Randy.
Right.
We were trying our hardest. But once again, I'm telling you guys, unless you experienced it, now if Elizabeth were with him right now, it would have been an entirely different match and with the crowd going. And if you don't believe me, when they talk about the match with Steamboat and Randy, which was considered a classic and all that.
Yes.
But if you look at the components between Elizabeth and George Animal Steel, there's 5 people in that match.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And you if you take George Steele, Elizabeth out of it, all the match is false finishes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Which isn't bad, but this is just we're just out there struggling, trying to get around, and our chemistry that wasn't good. Our work probably was considered average in this, and that's why he elected to start it over again.
On the way to this show, there was a SummerSlam preview show. And while you might not have had a match at SummerSlam, you did on the preview show. You wrestled Tito Santana in a 15-minute match that the Wrestling Observer absolutely loved. There was a lot of debate once upon a time about Tito and what could have been. And there were even interviews where, people would say, oh, it came down to Bret and Tito. What do you think of Tito as an in-ring performer? And could he have had a run at the top of the cards?
Oh, I thought he was great. I love Tito Santana. He's a really good athlete too, outside of wrestling. Yeah, Tito and I had good chemistry. I like working with him.
There was another match.
And he's really a nice guy.
I think he's last I heard, he was a school teacher in the Northeast.
Yeah,
so
he sure is.
Talk to me about the first ladder match.
You can see we're putting the work in the match here.
Oh, big time. A suplex on the floor. Come on, man.
No, but I helped Randy. He pressed me a little bit. I mean, but if you look at the crowd, they're just not budging.
Right. Sometimes they say, some days the fish aren't biting, meaning, you can go out there and do everything right and you're just not going to catch a fish. And it's not because you did anything wrong. They just weren't biting that day. Is that one of those crowds right here? The fish aren't biting?
I absolutely would say so.
Yeah.
That'd be just a minor.
I mean, look there, a backdrop on the floor and
yeah.
Okay. That kid's clapping. It's a little odd to see a crowd on their hands like this.
I know, certainly because they weren't trying.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Let me ask you about the ladder match. The first ever WWF ladder match happened around this era. Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. Do you remember hearing about that at the time? What did you think of that concept?
I didn't know what to think of it, but ultimately I think it's considered a classic. I said it before, but I said it more or less with a joke, but Shawn Michaels, I just said, and everybody took it wrong. I said Shawn Michaels having a match with a ladder.
Yeah.
Would Shawn Michaels have a match, where people say Flair can wrestle with a broom?
Right.
So could Shawn Michaels. Because Razor and I, neither one of us, like when I wrestled Edge in the ladder matches, what could I do? I don't do that kind of stuff. Razor certainly didn't. You know what I mean?
Right.
How about that? A drop kick in the back. Holy cow. Is that possible? Is that a drop kick or a knee?
That looked like a drop kick to me.
Man, what an athlete I was. Who would stop this? See, now it's 3 against 1.
Yes.
Well, this is the final one.
Yeah, this is the second match.
This is the second match.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was going to thank God I didn't play the first one. I thought this looked better.
No, the first one never aired anywhere.
Oh, thank God. Yeah, this is not a bad match at all now. But still, the whole thing was about the interference issue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He wanted Randy to really be selling the leg, and I don't think he thought Randy was selling it enough. I certainly didn't think he was.
Well, this is a big opportunity for Razor Ramon. He's going to get to brush up against the main event here. And now the figure 4 is on. You see a few people get to their feet, and he's going to fight this for like 2 minutes. And ultimately, this is going to be the finish. When you come back through the curtain the second time here, Rick, is Vince happy then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. I don't remember. I certainly would remember him not being. He had no problem. And by the way, wasn't I invited? Why wasn't I invited to his birthday party? What in the hell? I don't think he thinks I can be, what do you call, what's the word I used with him? I'll be discreet.
Oh, there you go.
What's it?
Discreet. You can't be discreet. He's right.
I should have been at that party though. Damn it! Come on.
I agree. You should have been.
I'm his biggest fan. even though he doesn't like seeing John to be around me.
Oh yeah, everybody has a good time with you, dude. Come on.
No, sometimes too good a time.
Sometimes too good. I've been in trouble for that. I'll be in trouble for that this weekend, I'm sure.
No, you won't, because she'll be right there.
Yeah.
I'm going to come in a day early just to hang out with you Friday. What time? I got bad news for you. What time you landing Thursday?
We're doing the bus thing again. We got a driver, so we'll get there in the evening, late evening.
You're taking the bus again?
Yeah.
What about the airplane you just bought?
Well, this is easy to transport this amount of people and this amount of stuff.
Who are you bringing with you?
Our friend of the show, Cassio Kid, stupid ass Dave Silva, my lovely wife.
Big Dave's coming too?
Cassio Kid. Yeah, I mentioned Cassio. Oh, Clint Beckley, who you referenced earlier. And
of course, Clint's there.
And Rod Wagner. He's my dude. He's our driver. My good buddies.
Will there be any liquor on the bus?
Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. Josh wants to know. I've been wondering.
Yeah, we're going in early. We're going in Thursday.
I think we're getting close to the finish here.
See, you know what I would have done here? The only thing I would have changed is at the end with both Razor and is Razor still out there, right?
Track the audio here, Steve. This is the finish.
No way you doing? No. Randy Savage. He's blacked out. I think he's unconscious. Savage is unconscious. Way down.
Well, that was the slowest damn count I've ever seen in my life. That was ridiculous. I had
We can kill it now. I just wanted people to hear Bobby Heenan freaking out. It was one of the best parts of your first WWF title win. One of the best parts of your second WWF title win. Pretty cool moment, man.
That match actually wasn't too bad.
No, it was a good match. It was weird that the fans were on their hands for it, but yeah, it was a good match.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a great question. I've been wondering this for years, Rick. Why did you only have one singles match on pay-per-view in your first WWE run? There were 6 pay-per-views, 1 singles match with Macho Man at Mania, and also the 2 Saturday night's main event matches were both tag matches. Thanks as always. That's a great question. I don't know that I ever put that together either. 1 singles match on pay-per-view, and it was WrestleMania.
You know, I don't know the answer to that either.
Maybe he's thinking, hey, we're not going to have Rick Long.
Maybe I wasn't drawing money like you thought I would.
Oh, shut up.
No, you never know.
That's true, I guess.
You got to remember out there a bit. Randy and I were probably the 2, and Piper were all just regular sized guys. I mean, the company had been around big guys,
right?
But, you know, the thing that I regret, I never got a chance. I did wrestle Bret a lot. I never got to wrestle DiBiase while I was there, who is going to go down in history as one of the best of all time. So there were clearly other guys for me to work with, where we could have had a great match, but great matches don't always sell tickets. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
But I certainly enjoyed my time there. And then, of course, the return worked out to be just another another ride to who knows where.
Well, I know where we're going.
But look at how much smaller Randy is there as opposed to when he came to WCW.
Oh yeah, he was a weightlifter when he came to WCW. He was a bodybuilder.
Yep.
And by the way, next week we're going to be doing Ask Nate Anything, which is maybe my favorite format with Rick. If you've got a question,
I love that.
It's so easy to do. Just go find us one right now on Twitter. And if you haven't found us on Twitter, what's the deal, man? Come on, go find us on Twitter, and we're going to have a post up. You can ask literally anything you want at To Be the Man Pod on Twitter. That's at To Be the Man Pod on Twitter. Rick will retweet it. I'll retweet it. We want to hear from you, and we want to see you this Saturday. It's 12:30 at Central Time, 1:30 Eastern. It's on Fight as well. It's moneyformongo.com. That's moneyformongo.com. It would mean a lot to Rick, myself, our whole podcast family, and of course the McMichael family. All the donations go directly to Mongo. We're going to have a big time this weekend in Chicago, Rick, but I had fun today, man, watching you and Randy Savage.
Me too. Thank you. It's always a pleasure. I enjoy these. It's fun to look back, when you think I've been in this 50 years next month. 50 years. From Scrap Iron George Godasky to the last 3 weeks or a month ago with Andrade and Jeff and
Jay.
I mean, it's really hard for me to think. It makes it more difficult. Obviously, the thing with Sean was special, but make no mistake. I mean, I still hear about it. That's all I heard in Houston was the last match. So that's very nice of you guys to put me in that position again.
Oh, gosh.
Always appreciate it. And really, how many guys ever get to have a last match?
Right. I agree.
With a farewell like that.
It was fantastic. Hope you guys
where are we going to celebrate 50 years of Flair on the actual day?
Well, I bet there's a steakhouse named Gibson's not too far away that has your name on it. Maybe.
No, I'm talking about on the 24th.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm going to be wherever you are, and we're going to tear it down.
I will be sending you transportation. Bus.
I can't wait. And of course, in the meantime, go get yourself some Ric Flair drip and some Wooooo wings.
Hell yeah. Let's get high on Ric Flair drip. Go woo on a bitch. Yeah.
See you next week.
Yes, sir. Woo.